During a chapel, they announced to the children that the school will be opening up a safe space club for LGBTQ youth and their allies. Also during the chapel, though, the vice principal did say to the students who may have concerns just to sit with their feelings and own them or something like that, and to understand that it might be wrapped up in their own understanding of the Christian faith. And that bothered me because essentially they were saying that what I was teaching might be wrong, or that's how my children took it.
Well, one of the things I've covered often at Rebel News is concerns that parents have over different ideologies influencing their kids in institutions like schools, even libraries. But one thing I don't get to do is interview the faculty themselves and their concerns. And today beside me, I have Victoria Hunt and Wendy Funk, who were both faculty for a Christian school called Surrey Christian School. And you're going to want to watch this full report to hear why they felt they needed to leave and go somewhere better. Thank you, ladies, for meeting me today. Today we are in Compass Christian Learning Centers, but not too long ago, you guys were both faculty at the Surrey Christian School. So first, Victoria, let everybody know what you did there and for how long.
I was there for 2 years. I was the director of early learning for the school for 3 campuses. And yeah, for 2 years. And then Wendy was one of my staff there.
Mm-hmm. So I was there for 1.5 years doing one-to-one support in the early learning center.
Wow. Okay. So now you're both here. It sounds like you guys were a valuable member over there. I guess we'll just jump into it. What would you say were some of the first signs that maybe something's changing there and it's time to move on?
There were some signs beforehand, but the biggest one was in February of last year when during a chapel they announced to the children that the school will be opening up a safe space club for LGBTQ youth and their allies. And that's not something that we heard as staff and as a parent, and we're both parents at the school, we never heard of that. So it was kind of over our heads, kind of a punch in the gut thing.
Mm-hmm. And what were your thoughts when you heard about this safe space for a specific genders or expressions of kids?
So same thing for me. I was expecting that this would be a club that they would want to have parental input or staff input before announcing it, and I heard nothing as a parent or a staff.
Mm-hmm. And so some people might be watching this and totally understand why that made you guys uncomfortable, especially in a Christian school. And others might be thinking, well, what's the big deal if that happens? So what's your response to the latter?
I think the big deal that it happens is that we're placing our children in Christian education to get our biblical worldview. And when I enrolled my children, so 15 years ago, the big question that we had with the principal was, what is your view on biblical sexuality? And it appeared to have changed. Also during the chapel, though, the vice principal did say to the students who may have concerns just to sit with their feelings and own them or something like that, and to understand that it might be wrapped up in their own understanding of the Christian faith. And that bothered me because essentially they were saying that what I was teaching might be wrong, or that's how my children took it.
Now, we in Canada are told to celebrate Pride Month, not Day, Pride Month. And in a lot of public schools, we're seeing sort of, some people would call it propaganda, others would say it's just signs of being inclusive. Was any of those types of posters or things like that starting to pop up in the school, or was it just this club?
In the Bible classroom, and I wouldn't say it was surrounding Pride Month, though. There is it's a poster welcoming, saying that you are safe here with the Pride flag attached, and that's in the main Bible teacher's classroom. But he's had that up for a good year or two.
Now, this was one of the first signs for you guys, but there was something else that happened that really didn't sit well with you guys. I know I've spoke to you briefly about that, Victoria, where you were thinking this is not good for the kids, especially in a Christian school. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Sure, that's the video, the film. Okay, so we received an email in May that the grade 9 children, and my son's in that class, would be watching a film called The Mask You Live In. And it was something was going on in the grade 9 class where boys and girls weren't getting along or something like that. And they sent the film trailer to us, and so I watched it, and I didn't like it. I didn't know if I was being kind of biased, so I decided to watch the whole film. And I'm not a fan of the film, but I watched it anyways. And about an hour into it, they were talking about pornography and how its influence is not good for men and women or boys and girls, and I agree 100%. But then it went on to show clips of violent porn against women, including the websites where these kids, and if I was that kid and watching this, I'd probably go to those websites. But in a Christian school, right, maybe some of those kids haven't had access to pornography, and this is going to be the first exposure. And I spoke to the vice principal about that, and he said that it was recommended by a Christian psychologist and that it's educational. And it was going to be shown to boys and girls.
Wow.
So I took screen footage of those clips and sent them to the parents at the school.
Wow. And you're right. Like, if you're advertising where to find this information, kids are pretty smart and they'll figure that out, how to get there. So what happened next after you sent this information off to the parents? Was there a tug of war? Did people have to pick sides? What happened?
I think we just
Nipped it in the bud.
yeah.
Yeah, so the email had come out on a Friday afternoon that the film was going to be shown specifically to the grade 9 students, boys and girls, on Monday. And so we had the weekend basically to address it, to get this film to not be shown to the students.
Wow. Okay, so now at some point you guys decided, that's it, I'm gone. This no longer aligns with my values. I'm moving on. How was that decision received by your former colleagues?
Well, I resigned right after the film. I already spoke to my superintendent about a week before that, saying that as of this point, I think I can still say, but I was kind of told, in other words, to pick my battles, and that he wanted me to support the direction of the school, but I'm a mom first. So when that happened, and I did contact him, and he didn't do anything, right? So I resigned. And the workers that I know, like my staff, and there was a lot of them, they knew I was supported in some regards, and I'm sure scoffed in others, but I could, in my conviction, stay, knowing that I'd be working in the same school that I can't support, because you have to love your job.
Yeah.
And I don't believe it's biblical.
So for myself, I had a contract doing one-to-one support with a child. So I stuck out that contract through the summer. And I was supposed to be moving into a preschool position role where I was going to be teaching the preschool. And so for myself, I didn't feel comfortable in the teacher role and promoting the school when I still didn't have any answers from the leadership. I've sent them emails, we've met with them face to face, and I still wasn't getting any clear answers on where do they stand.
We still don't know where they stand.
I did reach out to Surrey Christian School to hear what their stand is, and I didn't hear back. But before we get to you guys both being here, and it seems like you're happy, I have a question. What are your concerns about sort of, I don't know, I call it sort of sexual indoctrination that seems to be getting normalized for young kids? What would you like to tell the public about that?
In schools, I think parents need to be more proactive. There's textbooks that our children look through that are very progressive. There are libraries, even at that Christian school, had very explicit foul language and talk about sex acts that children shouldn't read. And then there's this. So the lack of, I guess, what's that word, conviction or discernment, what is appropriate to show to children. And if that's at a Christian school, it's at a public school too, obviously, right? So I think parents just need to step in and be more involved. I wish I would have in the past to see, and then speak up. I think we need to stand. We need to stand. Yeah.
I agree.
And speaking of speaking up and standing up, it wasn't easy for you guys to go through this, but you're starting to speak out now, hence this interview. And also, I know that you are one of the speakers in an upcoming religious freedom, right? Yes. Event. So we'll put that on the screen in case anybody's interested. That's happening in Canada. But tell us a little bit about this new school, this Compass School that we're inside of right now. It has 2 locations, one in Surrey, one in New West. Why is this a better fit for you? And why are you here?
For me, it's the freedom to teach, as the Bible wants us to teach. There isn't any government funding, so we don't have to follow the agenda. But I think the big thing is that it's Christian education without any compromise. And I love that. I think parents, we have a lot of parents that are here and they love it. The curriculum is educational. I think it's a little bit more advanced than some of the other institutions. But the big thing is the biblical truth and standing for the gospel and sharing the gospel, not just to make people feel good, but to save them.
Yeah, it's been a night and day difference coming here, seeing what my children were bringing home from school at the Christian school. And I've brought one of my children over here, and he's grade 4, and he is so happy here. He says, "Mom," he says, "the children are so nice here." Mm-hmm. And he loves it here, and he loves the teachers.
Thank you.
Yes, he wants to hug you, but he doesn't want to be embarrassed in front of the students. So, yeah, it aligns with our values, and hard and fast. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, you can find out more information about this school, Compass School, in the written article for this report, which is placed in the description box below. Thank you, both ladies, for being on Rebel News about this important topic that unfortunately I don't think we are going to stop reporting on anytime soon because it seems to be ramping up. Drea Humphrey for Rebel News. At Rebel News, we promise to bring you the other side of the story, and that includes how children are being indoctrinated today. If you appreciate what we do here to bring you that news, then we would appreciate your help. Unlike 95% of other media outlets in Canada, we don't take a penny from the Trudeau government. So if you'd like to keep our reports going strong, you can head to rebelnews.com and hit that donate button. We appreciate your support.